Welcome back. We're here this morning with Derek Hodges to talk about something that may have crossed your mind, the market possibilities with the Trump attack this past weekend and the election quickly coming up. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Derek. First and foremost, was there really any impact on the market and what had happened last weekend with the assassination attempt of Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think so. I think, number one, certainly a huge threat on our democracy. And I think it has an unnerving effect and adds more uncertainty to the markets. And so I think it would have been reasonable to assume when we woke up on Monday morning that the markets could have recoiled, corrected substantially. And I think we could still see that through this election cycle. That's very typical for the markets to be pretty volatile. However, I would say this is where it's better to be like a scientist and just kind of look at data, and rather than rely purely on our emotions, because historically during election cycles, the markets measured by the S&P 500 are up about 11% in a 12-month cycle after the elections.
Wow. And so then for the elections coming up, the election year, is that, a bad time to be invested?
I don't think so. I think it all is going to come down to how you have your money aligned and when you need your money. So if I had all of my money in the stock market right now and I need money in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, I would be concerned because I think you're going to see a lot of up and down behavior. But if I've got my money allotted and allocated properly where I have some safe money for my short-term stuff and my long-term money is more stock related, I think I'm going to be totally fine. Historically, the evidence suggests that because again, about an 11% return has been what the market has averaged after election cycles.
Wow. And, does the market react differently between the different parties that are in office? I feel like people have this assumption that, if the Republican Party or the Democratic Party is in office, your market is going to adjust to that. Is there any correlation between that, really?
Gosh, you're going to make me go to politics now. Well, the reality is we have a lot of folks that come in and regularly they're thinking about their politics. And I think that's great. I think do your civic duty. But I would kind of divorce my civic duty and my political beliefs from my money because here's what the evidence tells us. The Republicans have controlled all three branches of the federal government about 10% of the time. And when they've had control, the S&P 500 has averaged about 13%, very good returns. So they can brag about that. But only 10% of the time they've had the full control. Democrats have had full control somewhere around 24 to 25% of the time. When they have control, the markets have averaged 10%. Incredibly healthy, very good return. But here's the reality. We live under divided government about 2/3 of the time. So Republicans have some control, Democrats have control. Oftentimes we think of that as gridlock. In the markets, 8%. If a person earned 8% over a long period of time, they're probably going to be in great shape. So I would argue that really politics, they certainly impact us in a lot of ways, but the markets kind of shrug that off. They just want to know what the direction of the government and the country is going to be, and they kind of adapt and respond.
So you would say that it's probably beneficial to you and to your financial situation to, like you had said, to divorce those two things and kind of put those two aside and don't necessarily join them together and make your financial decisions based on what's necessarily going on between the parties.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in there's a whole lot of things that we don't control. Probably most things we don't control in our lives. This election we don't control. But what we can control is how we respond and react and how we handle our money. And so if you're really worried, I wouldn't, I wouldn't tell any of my clients to go all cash right now. I've had that question. I don't think that's really logical. What I do think is always logical is I always have a rainy day fund because uncertainty we know will occur. We just don't know when uncertainty will occur.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this was such a good topic to bring up with, the events that just did unfold this past weekend and with the election looming in, just a few short months. So if you had those questions, I hope that we were able to answer any of those questions. As always, Derek, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in just a bit.